Ken Curtis, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Ken Curtis, better known as Festus. Yes, indeedy. On Marsha Dillon's little turf out there at Gunsmoke, Arizona, don't you know? Or maybe that was New Mexico. It was probably Lordsburg, one of the roughest towns ever to be out in the Wild West, don't you see? Surrounded by a bunch of tumbleweeds, yes indeedy. I don't know how many of you grew up in the West like I have and traveled around her a bunch, but I'll tell you what, after a while, you start to notice these tumbleweeds, man, and their personality and their style and how they, wow, they'll stay steady with you when the wind's blowing mile after mile after mile. And it's amazing, man. Tumbleweeds start a journey way down south somewhere in Mexico, you know. And they tumble their asses all the way up through, you know, Arizona and California and Nevada and Utah and Wyoming and Colorado and everywhere, man. And pretty soon they're up there in Alberta somewhere, man, you know. Or northern BC, man. Maybe even up to Alaska. I don't know. But I'll bet you'll find tumbleweeds up there in the snow up there above Port Huron, don't you know? Those little suckers are determined, and when they get to going, they get to flowing in that wind. Hell, nothing can stop them, man. Cliffs, mountains, you know, nothing fences. You ever watch them pile up on the fences until they got enough to just keep going and tumble on over, you see? Wow, I've watched those ugly old Mormon cricket things do the same thing out there in the desert, man. They're pretty awful. They're about like 18 inches long when you add their tail. Their tail's about 12, 14 inches, you know. And these are some of the ugliest critters you ever saw in your life. They're called Mormon crickets. And you only find them out in Utah and Nevada in the deserts out there. And man, these things are so ugly. And they eat everything in their path, including each other. But like a tumbleweed, man, they come to a little creek or something. They just start piling one on top of another. The ones underneath, of course, die, but, you know, the ones on top go on over. It's a big horde, man. It's about a mile wide and a mile long, something like that. And it's a thick thicket of these ugly little things, and you ought to hear them when they move. They make this ugly little sound. Oh, my goodness. Sends chills up and down your spine immediately, man. You're just like, oh, my God, get me out of here. This is ugly. I want to go watch the tumbleweeds. I don't want to be in the middle of this stuff, you know. But the neat thing about it is the seagulls are their natural predators. For real, man. It's kind of unbelievable. But you'll be out there in the desert out there in Utah, Nevada, someplace, and you'll see the horde of these Mormon crickets, and you'll see a bunch of seagulls coming out of nowhere. I don't know where they come from. Nearest water's 100 miles away. But they'll make that journey just to come and eat on these things. They're a delicacy for the seagulls. So old Jonathan Livingston is still living and in light and life and helping out the residents of the Great West, you know, to get away from that ugly pest. I'm sure that thing came from some ugly alien environment way out beyond the edges of the universe. It's about the creepiest life the earth ever allowed to be. And there it is, man. Ugh. Well, I don't know why tumbleweeds and them remind me of each other, except that they both pile on top of each other. But the tumbleweeds seem to be smiling and happy, whereas these other things don't seem very happy at all. They're just ugly and dark and disgusting, man, you know. And they do, man. They get into your fields and farmers' fields. They'll wipe it out right there on the spot, man. It's unbelievable. They are devouring critters. They devour everything around them. Plant-wise, I mean. You know, wow. Well, I never seen them eating sagebrush, but everything else around it, you know what I mean? They're just crazy little shits, man. I tell you. It's amazing to have lived long enough to see all this kind of stuff, isn't it, you know? But I seen this stuff when I was just like a young man, you know. Gosh, you know. You grow up in Utah, you see all kinds of weird things, let me tell you, man. You know, from flying saucers and tornadoes in the desert. I mean, crazy looking life, too. You think Sasquatch is something. I've seen some, and the Mormon cricket is something. I've seen some really odd forms of life out there in those deserts in the West here. You know what I mean? And, you know, and you know, oh, baby, the closer you get to Fort Carson here in Colorado or down there around Doce and Los Alamos in New Mexico, the more likely you are to see things like that, because there's been some real interesting critters created in some laboratories there genetically and biologically. They're kind of like supposed to be a biological robots, but a lot of it is Dr. Frankenstein kind of stuff, where they're just mixing this life and that life together just to see the effect. They want to create the ultimate warrior. Well, I think they did that quite some time ago. Now they're just itching to turn them loose on humanity, except they're malfunctioning. They don't work. All the big plans, they were quite grand. They grew a whole society of robots down under the ground, these dark background people, thinking that, when they created the big disaster here on the surface and things finally cleaned up, enough people could live here again, they just come up from the ground and just take over. And if they didn't do the big wipeout, well, they just bring these bottom beings up to the top and take over. But that doesn't work because they can't survive in the sunlight. They've been under the ground too long. They can't take the sun anymore. Just down they go. Dust you are, and dust you shall be, like a little tumbleweed. But look at how you tumble, baby, and look at how far you can fly. Yeah, I've seen tumbleweeds 3,000-4,000 feet up in the sky, haven't you, man? Them little dust devils suck those babies up and throw them way up there in the air, and then they toss them back and forth and stuff, I remember one time, I was laying out there in the hot springs, and probably wisdom would tell you get out of the hot springs, but me, I'm kind of like immune to everything, aren't I? I wish. Anyway, I'm lying out there in the hot springs, and a little thunderstorm comes over, and I'm watching the thunder gods up there throwing little thunderbolts back and forth, man. It was pretty wild, man. And it reminded me, yes, of the tumbleweeds and the dust devils, tossing them back and forth. They're getting them way up top and just tossing them around. And then, you'll be out there in the middle of nowhere and there's no dust devil around, and down comes the tumbleweed out of nowhere, man. That's the one that got away from him way up high. But it takes forever to come back down because, a tumbleweed's got all them little sticker fins on them, and they catch the wind, That's how they roll, man. Sticker fins, they catch it and go. Of course, they spread seeds wherever they go so the next generation can make the same trek right along with the rest of us, don't you know? We're stardust, we're golden, and we're drifting along with the tumbleweeds. But we're not as desperate as an old tumbleweed, and, we don't just have to make this journey because the wind's blowing. We go something like out of free choice right here in our little heart, man. It's the only real choice we ever make is to live or not live, And the rest of it is just going with the flow, one way or the other. It's better off if you know what the flow is, because then you kind of redirect that flow a little bit, and it gets a whole lot easier, don't you know? Because you're going with it and not resisting anymore, see? Right now, you're kind of resisting, and kind of pushing backwards on yourself a lot, saying, no, I don't want to be loved, but you're getting pulled along by the wind just like the tumbleweed is, see? So even though you're stardust and golden, you're still moved by the wind, the spirit wind of life, man, blowing you along, blowing your heart in a singular direction, and there ain't nothing anybody or anything can do about it, not you or me or anybody else. We just go with the flow, man. We're all in it, don't you know? We made that free choice long ago when we became these little human spiritual tumbleweeds, man. Yeah, babies, and we've been piling up on the fences way too often. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to imagineer those fences out of being and flow on through. We don't have to pile on me, and I don't have to pile on you. No more pressure, no more tension, no more death. Babies, let's take a sweet breath of freedom, man, because we just, accomplished that. Well, there still might be a few dust devils around, and you know what they like to do with us tumbleweeds, but just remember, as you're getting tumbled along, you're the rock and roll Jesus, singing that Jesus song, man. Jeezo Weezo is each one of us in our own creation living, like to bouncing around tumbleweeds, because that's more fun than an amusement park and a roller coaster and shit, don't you see? Getting tumbled around like a tumbleweed is like, wow, that's lively, man. And having some fun, learning how to go with the flow, tumble along, don't you know, learning how to fly, learning that you got wings even though it don't look like it. They seem like mean things, but those are wings, man, and they get you way up there sometimes. You get bounced around by, dust devils and tornadoes and shit, Well, the winds aloft can really get you tossed, man. I'm telling you, if you've done any kind of flying, you know how that can be, man. You crab into it and go for it if you're going again it. Boy, if it's going with you, you just got to make sure you don't stall out, man, because it's whipping you along fast, man. Shoot. Make it in half the time that an airplane's supposed to make it in because the wind's blowing up there, man. You know what I mean? Oh, I lost a couple of those little drone things. I was trying to learn how to fly them, man. Out here on the mountain, boy, you don't want to fly them like that. I should have took them down in the flats. I lost 2 of them right here by my house, man. The wind just picked them up and took them away. And nothing I did with those little controls was going to make it come back again either. It's like, no. I'm going away. And I go, okay, land. And it, when it finally come down, it was so far away from me, I couldn't find it, man. They're little things, Well, I mean, they're like a 1.5 foot across. The one was about 1 foot across. They're hard to find once they go down out there in them trees and forests and stuff. Like tumbleweed, man, who can tell one from another? Well, these little things just disappear into nature's grass and sagebrush, and, they look like a cactus out there or something. I don't know, but maybe they landed in the trees. I don't know. Just couldn't find them. That's all I know. So I don't do that anymore. I let others do that, I was trying to get that going, so we could do some really neat, videos. And maybe one of these days another one will come my way. But now there's all these regulations and stuff because people were stupid with them, and the government gets all authoritarian. You can't be flying those things around people's backyards, and well, blah, I wouldn't be, if I was out there sunbathing, I wouldn't want nobody spying on me with one of those things. Now, would you? No, man, shit, man. But outside of that, outside of being decent about it, I don't see a whole lot of need for regulation. Just don't fly them in, right by the airport and stuff like that. I mean, don't be stupid. Just common sense prevail. You don't need a bunch of regulation. Shit. Everybody just needs to chill and be a tumbleweed and get blown along by the wind of love, and then we just show that we're all in the same boat together. We're all being moved by the same wind. We're all living the same life, and we're all tumbling along, and without strife if we'll let it be. When we start to get happy about it, instead of being angry like those ugly forms of life, be happy about it and carefree like the tumbleweed is, man. We are stardust. We are gold. We're sparkling tumbleweeds. We spread the fires of love everywhere. And they ain't destructive. They're recreated fires, ain't they? They destroy the illusion and bring back what? The life without strife, man. The love of creation in motion, because, baby, that's what we're here to be. Here at Spring Crick, Headwaters of Life, that's where all tumbleweeds get their start, They're blessed by the great cactus that grows right beside the Spring Crick of Love. Now, you wouldn't think a cactus would need that water, and it don't. But it grows there for a reason, because it adds its essence, its energy to that water of life. So the life can trip a little bit, party a little bit, but get it clear, dear, That's what the cacti brings here. It's the blessing of the clear vision of the multi-dimensional reality. So, baby, you're not down, you're up. Quit feeling so cotton-picking sorry for yourself, man. Tumbleweeds lose a few feathers here and there, but ultimately they make it. And the whole family does, too. It's a tribal thing, man. Realize you're just part of that flow, not the whole thing, okay? Wow, well, we're that, too, man. But you got to realize that as your own little part, okay? But it's not individuated away now, is it? You're part of a much greater flow. Don't you know? And if I catch you feeling sorry for yourself, well, I'm going to send some good loving your way from, not necessarily from here, but from there inside of you. And babies, you're going to wake up one way or the other, because I ain't letting you go down this time, man. We're bringing each other around, man. You see? That's what we're here for, okay? Prop each other up, same way tumbleweeds do, man. Ooh-wee. And we're setting each other free to be as tumbling as we want to be, babies, and recreate the life as we go along with sparkly little, tumbleweed thing. Oh, I love you so, baby. Just come here, let me give you a little tumbleweed hug, okay? We know exactly what's going on with everybody. If we just admit it to ourselves, we really do, man. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to do nothing, man. Just, be inside of ourselves and paying attention to what's going on around us, man. What you feel, that's what's real. And what you feel coming through others, as much as they try to hide it and disguise it from themselves, and that's how they hide it from you. It's still coming through because you're a human being too, man, and you know what to do because you're living a little more consciously in the flow of that tumbleweed heart of yours, don't you know? Little rock and roll Jesus that you are. Yes, indeed, each and every one of us are with the Divine Mary Jane. That is Jesus. It's the Christed ones, too. You want to call it what you will. You know, blinded by the light, you know, wrapped up like a deuce in the middle of the night, man. I tell you what, man. You're seeing it even better than that, you know. Those are kind of confusing words until you get into the psychedelic aspects of the multidimensional heart of creation. And it says, I was blinded by the light, but babies, I got it just right. And just like the deuce, man, I come up with the snoosh. And everybody gets out of the way because I am the liberation and light today. Pair A dies. And don't think twice. It's always coming up 7 because that's heaven. And 11 too, which lets you in, man. But 7 is the way. 11 just gets you there, you see. 7 is the 7 points of light from which life always creates. We got that 7 points of light inside of us. But it's also 11 points of light because you add an extra one on those 4 around us, you know. So it's a couple. It's a duality, but it's not anymore, man. It's a undivided 11, man. And what does 11 add up to? 2. When you got 2 11s, what you got? You got 11, 11, man. And what's that? Gateway to heaven, okay? Okay, you think I'm just bullshitting you, huh? Well, babies, just try it out. Today, look around you, and if you don't see, every time you see 11, 11, think gateway to heaven and see what happens, okay? I mean, nothing else. You don't have to believe or do or be anything. It's just a little hypnotic thing I want you to practice, you know. Get you totally, you know, estranged from life and totally under my thumb, baby, so I can help you, you know, do what I need done here. Oh, babies, it ain't ever that way with Grandpa. Don't you know, man? I can make fun of myself that way, you know, because that way you avoid that shit, you know. If you see any aspects of it around you, well, you don't even have to do that. You know, always be, you know, having fun with yourself, baby, and the fun will never go away, and you'll never get serious again, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean you can't bitch and moan, you know, and I used to love being angry every now and then, and I still kind of do, but, you know, it just doesn't seem to have the form and function that it used to. It's like, you know, the whole attitude of anger is falling away. I mean, day after day, and it's just not as handy as it once was to be angry, you know. I don't know what's happening to me, man. I'm definitely going through some transformative days, you know, and if I'm doing it, well, you must be doing it too, because I don't do nothing alone, man, you know, at all. You know, even though I hang out in this cabin as a recluse quite a bit because I've been down. But I'm coming around, baby. Now I can move around. And I'm getting out there and going to town every now and then. And, you know, hanging out with people here and there. And yesterday, we made history, babies. I hate to admit it, you know, but it's true. Yesterday, I did my laundry for the first time in 3 months. Took up a whole bunch of washing machines at the laundromat, and me and Okie just grunted down and got it done. You know what I mean? Whew. I'll be the next 3 weeks sorting it out and folding it up and putting it away, but I got it all done, washed and dried, and, you know, bagged up yesterday, man. So today we're free, man, you know, to be a folder, don't you see? Folding into the aspects of a whole new reality because we got, you know, honest to goodness, now, you know, all well, I can't put all kidding aside, but most kidding aside, it's like, wow, it's great to be able to do that. You know, and I mean, it wasn't but a month ago, you know, I couldn't lift more than 10 pounds or something, you know what I mean? And here I am coming around like gangbusters. I did my laundry yesterday, which involved a little bit of lifting and pushing and moving around and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Mostly light duty, but, you know, when that shit's wet and soggy, it's heavy, man, you know, but I got her down. I tell you guys, I just, you know, I was so happy, you know, and so was Okie too, man, you know. So it's just, you know, sometimes the dumbest things can mean so much because you just appreciate the sweetness in being able to do it. You know, I never want to be a burden on others, let alone, you know, not be able to take care of myself, you know. And so it's nice to know we can still do that, you know. And despite all of my meanderings, and this is a bachelor confession, I guess, despite all of my ramblings in life, and the marriages and so forth, I've most of the time done my own laundry because I usually live life on the road, so I just go dig up a laundromat here or there and do them when I needed them done. So I've been doing that most all my life. So I never was one to let the woman, well, not that it didn't happen sometimes, of course, some people are just insistent, too damn traditional, I really don't like, washing my clothes with somebody else because they always get, mixed up and shit gets lost. And, oh, she likes that shirt because I wear some colorful clothes, as you know. And she might like that shirt better than I do. And then she gets it all stretched out of shape because, I ain't got nothing like that in my chest, In fact, they took away what little I had, when they were doing that thing a while back. So, man, let me, but anyway, I've done most of that, And why? Well, because I don't like being a burden on others. I like taking care of myself, I like having a nice life and an easy time of it. Who doesn't, But whatever comes my way, I'm flowing with day after day, moment to moment. How about you? You flowing with it too? Now that's the dance of life. That's the headwaters of love. That's Spring Crick, making its way through you. You see the waters that are so clear and so pure. Wow. One little sip, baby, you're on a trip. And you didn't need LSD because, well, there's this cactus up there by the headwaters, Look at that one little logo I got. Well, I got the cactus in a few of them, but... No, we're not taking peyote here, man. That's the cactus at the headwaters of life. It has the energy of something like that, but it ain't peyote. No. It's clarity. It's reality. It's truth. It's being able to see beyond the bullshit lies we've lived in so we can learn how to live again, you see. None of the ways that we've lived in the past have really quite matched up with our truths, with our reality, As far as we can remember now, back in time, of course, it was much different before that, but as far as we can remember back in time, essentially it's always been a struggle to stay alive, and there's always some kind of one-upmanship going on, one form or another, kind of a deranged existence, and our earth seemed to fight us, not help us, so on and so forth, you know what I mean? Some learned to flow with it a little better than others, and there were some very enlightened times and societies that came along, and I love them for it because they held the energy strong so the rest of us dumbasses could get along and get through it and get to hear where it finally becomes clear, because we have this year arrived at the headwaters of life, and that's why I renamed the program Spring Crick. Because that's our truth, our essential truth. We're going right back to that beginning moment where everything comes to life. And as we become that flow, we begin to know the life that we've created there, don't you know? And like the water that flows out into it and nourishes it and brings it into being and then evaporates into another aspect of being, well, it's the same thing. That's our energy. That's our love in motion. But it's a unified thing. See, we're not only the water and the life that it creates and the ether that the water vapor creates, etc. We are all of that and then some. This is the multidimensional, So we appreciate each element of feeling. We live in that dimension, and that's our truth. So we're expanding and growing all the time. It's like we were the blind, leading the blind, man. For a long, long time we couldn't see, babies, But we had to transpire that shit. We had to transpirate that shit, as I call it, which is more or less transformation, planetary ascendancy, which really means just being alive and awake in all the dimensions. That's all it really means, is being able to live your life fully present. See, so then there's no living and dying. There's only living and flying, getting higher than a kite and loving the height of your life. The expansive growth, the orgasmic truth for everyone. From the tiniest child to the tallest monstrous giant we ever created. Your Anunnaki, my ass. Now listen, guys. There's a lot of legends and stories around this earth. Most of them have some elements of truth. But you got to understand It's been misread by people that were out of their head. And it's been manipulated by those that were cruel and didn't want you to come out of it. They wanted you to stay a fool, see. So you haven't been told the truth about much of anything, let alone these legendary tales about how life came into being and who's boss or what. You got to understand, that's a whole different dimension that we're dealing with there. And it has nothing to do with reality. Truth is the flow of the heart's in all of it. And there ain't this black and white and red all over and, this nation rising against that nation and blah, 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 blah. That's all the unpolitical truth, it's just bullshit, total bullshit. We have been on a constantly expansive trail from the moment the first human being set foot here. And that's the simple truth. That's what we came here to be. That's what we've done because we came here to do that. And now, it's not always in your conscious presence. Of course not. Why, 90% of you is subconscious, or was, because it ain't so much anymore now, is it? You're starting to notice thoughts and feelings you didn't even know you had before. Well, you got to embrace them too, man, whether they're objectionable or not. Embrace them all. And that helps unify the flow of it, And then you can let go of anything that, seemed inhibitive or, that's been pushing you around for a long time, like some of the energies I've had inside of myself. As sad as that seems at this stage of the game, this makes me want to cry. It's been so darn long inside of me. But the reason I'm crying is not because I feel sorry for myself, because it's finally relieving itself. It's finally letting go of all the shit, don't you know, and coming around, in a heartfelt sort of way, recognizing that, in other words, at this dimension, that it is a part of the essential truth of this person, and therefore it is equitous in this person, and it need not resist and fight and fart around like that anymore. Well, farting around we can still do, man, because that means we get to play, and that's what we're here for too, Through play do we discover the truth of our lover inside of ourself, and the lover of the being that created us, and the lover that is the creation we're living in, and this is why we can lovingly apply the big O, don't you know? It's a little bit different medicine than you get here by quite a ways. But, just let yourself flow in this expansive way, let your feelings go out there, grow from the middle on out, and just allow yourself to feel those dimensional presences, and by golly, they become a reality, and it just seems normal then, familiar, not like anything we've been separate from at all, but like something we just didn't recognize for a bit because we needed to step out of it for a while. That's part of our continuing education here. And guess what? We don't even have to pay student loans, man. Of course, it's only kindergarten. Now we're going on to first grade, baby. That's the multidimensional reality, the essential blossom, the essential essence of life, coming forward from Spring Crick, here at 9,000 feet high in the Rocky Mountain sky. Well, yeah, that too. But they're wherever you are as well. We're all that headwaters, and we're all that little cacti there at the headwaters with a blossom on its head. And it expands and grows from there, So when you understand, you are the cacti, well, look, nobody messes with you. It's hard to get around you because you got all those prickles, but they just arise naturally. You don't think about it or try to hurt people. You just, are quite naturally protected. But, the cacti comes along, and babies, you can rock, and pretty soon there could be a whole field full of you, and etc., and you hold the waters of life, the essential truth of love, for everyone. That's why you're right there by Spring Crick, that's where you begin. And that's why your energy will be returned to again and again throughout that historical context for a little renewal, a little refreshment of clarity, that cold, clear drink of water that brings you back to life because you begin to see. You're not blinded by the light anymore. It becomes the rainbow love. And then you live in it, see? But the blindedness is just not realizing that you are the light. And therefore it overwhelms you. But as it does, it's not really overwhelming you. It's reiterating you. You're the light too, see?